Yeah, we'll hop in, Glenn. It's wonderful to meet you. Thank you, sir, for joining us on the show. I appreciate it.
You bet.
So, before we get into your life, there's a lot going on. I want to know this. One of the biggest things that we've all had to survive, which was kind of rare, and it was everybody on the planet was getting through this pandemic, and it really did influence a lot of the ways that we live right now. How did you get through that time period, and how is it that imprint influenced the way that you live now?
Well, it had probably minimal impact on my wife and I. We're retired, so we weren't impacted by the change in how work is done. And I'm an introvert, so it's like suddenly you don't have to go meet with people. It's like, sweet, that's awesome. Like a perfect excuse.
Yeah.
Um, and my wife lost like 10 pounds because she wasn't going out to coffee shops with her friends. So
Yeah.
um and we like spending time with each other, so that was good. We're used to that with retirement, and from me working at home before that. And then we like to travel in our sprinter van, so that wasn't impacted, so really didn't impact our lives a lot. And I understand that we're a special case, and that it had severe impacts on a lot of people, including our sons were impacted by it. But yeah, for us, it was kind of a non-event.
So you're a speaker, you're an author, you're an engineer, you've revolutionized backpacking with like cutting edge equipment. But if I was to put you in front of a bunch of grade schoolers on career day, and one of the kids, a third grader in the back of the room, was curious and was like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How would you answer that child?
Well, there's two things. I mean, what I do for a living, I've never taken a salary from the backpacking company that I accidentally started. I worked my whole life as a civil engineer. So I tell the third grader, well, your house that you live in, um, I did all the work to get it ready to build the house. I created the lot that it's on, and I created the plans that graded the ground, and the plans for the street, and all the pipes that take stormwater and sewer away and bring water to your house, and got it all ready so someone else, the builder, could build your house for you. So that's what I would explain that portion of it. As far as the backpack end, I'd probably say, hey, you guess in third grade they have books these days.
Yeah.
If it's not just a tablet, but it's like, how your backpack is so heavy with like four books. What if I could design you a backpack that would just carry one book that did everything those four books did? Wouldn't that be cool that you had a lighter backpack?
Yeah. So what did you want to be in the third grade? When you were that age, what was your ultimate dream to grow up and become?
I don't remember about the third grade. I know, like in junior high school, I liked languages, and so um, foreign languages. I took Latin, Greek, French. I was taking German briefly. So sometimes people say, "Oh, you must be good at languages." Like, no, I wasn't good at them. I just enjoyed it. I just,
Yeah.
it's like connecting to people in a different culture, like in their language. So this was pre-internet. You didn't have any way to check out like things that seemed cool to you as to what that reality was. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought I'd be an interpreter, but after I graduated high school, I rode my bicycle across the country, and ended up getting offered a job at a civil engineering firm. So became an engineer.
How did these seeds get planted in you? Take me back to where you're born and raised, and how did you become an adventurer? And how did all of this evolve and grow into who you are today?
So I grew up in Southern California, kind of typical, I think, childhood growing up in the 60s, a free range kid. There's no internet, no phones, no, I mean, we were gone as long as you were home by dark. Um, my parents had no idea where we were, out tearing around on our bikes or digging holes in vacant lots, or, just goofing off.
Yeah.
We didn't have any planned like gymnastics lessons or, stuff like that. It's like we were just playing. It was great. Um, and that came to a screeching halt when I was in fourth grade. Parents divorced, and we moved from Southern California to Western Massachusetts.
Wow.
My mom had graduated from Wellesley, so that was big. Like, I'm a California kid. It's like, what's this snow stuff? And you had school buses, and it's like, oh man. Um, but that was fun. And then I don't. I belonged to the outing club. In My mom was, she took us on day hikes on the Appalachian Trail and stuff like that. I don't remember. We camped when they were together. We camped in national parks. Just car camping basically. But I just always enjoyed that. being outside with the trees and that smell of the sun on the pine needles and the pine cones underneath your feet. And I just always enjoyed that. So when I graduated high school in 76, I thought it'd be a good idea to ride my bicycle across the country, 4,200 miles, and convince three other friends that it would be a good idea. And so that's what we did. And, I called my mom twice. There's no internet to research it. We got a map from a gas station and just drew a line across the country and then started pedaling. It was awesome. You talk about that, unstructured kind of make it up as you go along travel. I mean, that
Yeah.
was a good time.
What did you learn about yourself at the end of that journey? I mean, that's a big, big deal. And I don't think people understand what kind of effort, mental exertion that takes. What did you ultimately discover about yourself during that journey?
Well, a couple things. One is it's amazing what you can do just one day at a time.
Yeah.
I mean, 4,200 miles is like if you set out going, yeah, I'm going to cycle 4,200 miles. Like, oh my God, how's that going to work? And how's this going to, where are we going to camp? There's like a million questions, but like, well, I just got to solve what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
And at the end of the summer, we cycled across an entire very large country, met a lot of people along the way, had, some great experiences and we'd had to deal with a lot. And that's, I think, one thing that challenging yourself is, you get a confidence in dealing with unknown situations. Like, well, I don't know how to deal with this, but I've solved other problems. So something will work out.
Yeah.
The other thing, which I discovered about myself is that, which I still work on is our group split into two groups of two because, um, of problems getting along. And part of I was a contributing factor because I was kind of driven, very goal driven, like, hey, we got to do 80 miles a day, 80 miles a day, and whereas some of the other people were like, hey, this is kind of a cool place. Let's hang out for a day. And I'm like, no, no, we got to get the miles. And it's like, I don't know why. That's just
Yeah.
kind of the way I'm wired. So that's a character defect that I learned about myself.
Yeah. What, who's been that inspiration for you? Who's been that person that's motivated you consistently in your life to do all of these, whether it's driving across the country, innovating in your career as an engineer, writing books? Who's been that person for you?
It's been a variety, I would say. Some of it was my mom. She was a big one for trying new stuff. She she would try anything. I mean, she reinvented herself later in life, became a consultant to nonprofits. She became a stained glass artist. And then, on the engineering side, my dad, he's an engineer, and he's
Yeah.
always like, he could always solve any problem. If I was in college and some problem, he goes, okay, well, there should be an equation relates, radius with intensity, and here's how you solve that problem. I mean, he can solve any problem. He just crank through it, think about what do you know, what do you try and find out, what can you leverage. Um, and then my wife, that's only for the last 42 years, but she's a real inspiration. She's changed who I am by being more outward facing, being tough. She's like the toughest lady I know. Dealt with a lot, but just talking to strangers and making some lifelong friends along the way.
So, having that adventurous spirit, traveling many miles, especially in this country, what's been one of the most unexpectedly beautiful, magical places in this country that you saw?
People often ask me, like, where's your favorite place to hike? And I just like being outside. I mean, there is beauty everywhere. We used to live in San Diego, and I'd hike the desert section of the Pacific Crest Trail many times. And Francie would say, like, I don't get it. It's like there's just scrub brush out there, and it's like pretty grim. It's like, I don't know. I just like being outside, and
Yeah.
there's beauty everywhere if you find it. Now, if I'm choosing, if I'm picking, I'm in a mountain above tree line, because that's really what makes my heart sing. But I just anything outdoors is just amazing to me.
So, if you could meet anybody alive on the planet right now that you feel is doing amazing things that you're fascinated by, spend a little time with them, who would that be?
And I've met some of those people. Surprising to me, I give away a lot of books signed by authors, the people that wrote them, and I've met some of those people and become friends with them. The one I have not been successful in is who's the TED Talks guy? Chris Anderson,
Yeah.
because he wrote Infectious Generosity,
Yeah.
which is, I think, a hugely impactful book. And it'd be great to, get to chat with him sometime
So
and
what
for him to sign some books for me to give away.
Yeah, 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 for sure. So what is the motivation for you every day to wake up and to do this work, to have this strong urge to evolve and to go out and innovate and to be adventurous? What is that for you every day?
Well, part of that is, I mean, the innovation part is the kind of the good news, bad news of being an engineer. And I consider like whether you're an engineer, it's not like whether you got a business card that says that. It's like when I see another engineer, it's like, oh yeah, I see you. You're an engineer. I don't care what you do. It's like it's a way of thinking. It's kind of a way you're wired. It's
Yeah.
like I can always think like, is there a better way to do this? Is there a more efficient way? Can I make it lighter? Can I make it work better? And so often I'm tinkering on projects that involve something like that. Um, and then my other passion is, which thanks to my wife, is who am I supposed to meet today? Because I've got something that can help them, or maybe they have something that I need to hear, or there's some way they can help me with some project I'm working on.
So is there a part of the world that you haven't seen that you have this desire to go see? Like, bucket list place on the planet that you haven't been to?
Yeah, I don't know about bucket list. I mean, there's a lot of places we haven't seen. New Zealand is on our list.
Yeah.
I've got, in fact, so it's coming up on the new year, and so I've got a long list of possible trips. I need to sit down with Francie and go, okay, which of these are definitely going to happen, which are maybe going to happen.
Yeah.
And New Zealand is on that list. Alaska is also on that list, like a road trip. And we've done Alaska cruise, but that's just kind of scratching the surface.
Yeah. So if you had a dream tonight, ran into that young version of you right before you went on that cross country journey on your bike, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've led, the wisdom you've accumulated over time, what advice would you impart on that young version of you?
There would be several items. One, take notes. Like I don't have any record of that trip. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
luckily some of the other guys, one guy kept a journal.
Yeah.
We're actually planning like a 50-year reunion, complete the loop trip
Oh, wow.
in 2026.
Yeah.
So he has like a map of the route we took,
Cool.
which I didn't have anything. It's like this
Yeah.
huge event in my life. I had nothing.
Yeah.
I got a couple postcards or something.
Yeah.
So it would be, take some notes, be slow down. It's not about the journey, it'd be get some get some names and addresses along the way.
Yeah.
Now with the internet, you can always find people.
Oh,
Back
yeah.
then, that's like there were people we met, like I have no idea where they were.
Yeah.
They
Right.
died before I could tell them how important they were to our trip.
Yeah.
Um, and just, slow down.
Yeah. So of all of these things that you've done and accomplished, what are you the proudest of?
Um, I mean, it would be staying married 42 years, but that's probably, I have to credit my wife with that.
Yeah.
Um, the book was a big thing. Probably the gear company, starting Gossamer Gear accidentally along the way, and all the people that we've helped continue to hike, either hike trips that they didn't think they could do, or continue to backpack at ages that they thought they would have to give it up before they got there.
Speaking of your book, if you don't mind showing people, I see back there, give us kind of a taste of what people should go out and buy.
So the book is Take Less, Do More, Surprising Life Lessons in Generosity, Gratitude, and Curiosity from an Ultralight Backpacker. And the short version is I've worked for, call it 50 years on lightening my backpack or my load. And I realized as I worked to optimize that many of the lessons I learned had spillover lessons for life in general.
Yeah.
And so it's, stories from backpacking and teasing out the lessons that I learned from that.
So at the end of the day, everyone out there has a perception of you. Family, friends, everyone that gets your book, everyone that's worked with you, everyone that knows you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Well, I, I say I'm a pretty average guy with maybe above average PR. Um, but yeah, I guess if I had to describe, I often sign my books with work hard, be nice, stay curious. And that pretty much mirrors how I see myself. I'll work hard. Um, I'm nice to people,
Yeah.
and I try and stay curious about things. Wonder about things, and that leads to exciting new areas in life.
So, if anyone out there wants to pick up your book, they want to reach out, learn more about what you're doing with your company, any of the good business, where can they go?
If they go to glenvanpeski.com, everything is there. I mean, I've got tips and tricks. I've got gear lists if they're wondering what a sub 5 pound base pack weight looks like. I've got blog posts on a variety of subjects, some by guest authors, some videos if they want to see the gear in action, links to social, everything like that.
Wonderful, Glenn. This has been refreshing. Thank you so much for your story, sir. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for having me. It's been a
Yeah.
treat.
Yeah.